Have you ever noticed that sometimes a career does not collapse because you are lazy or untalented, but because you stayed in the same professional identity for too long while the environment around you had already changed? Because that is the real question sitting underneath 2026. Not whether the year will magically hand you a promotion, a new business, or some cinematic breakthrough just because the calendar changed, but whether the pressure of the year will finally force you to confront what you already know deep down, which is that some careers are not stuck because opportunity is absent. They are stuck because the person inside them has already outgrown the structure and is still pretending otherwise. Now, let me ask you two very direct questions before we go further. If your career has felt stagnant, delayed, overmanaged, underrecognized, or quietly misaligned for longer than you want to admit, do you really think 2026 will allow you to hide inside that comfortably for much longer? And if a high pressure year arrives that amplifies visibility, speed, and consequence, are you actually prepared to use that energy intelligently, or are you still hoping life will improve without requiring you to make harder and more honest decisions? Stay with me until the end of this video for three reasons. Because first, I'm going to show you why 2026 is not a gentle development year, but a career acceleration year that exposes what is dead weight and what is real potential. Second, I'm going to break down why the firehorse is both an opportunity and a risk, depending on how honest you are about your current professional reality. And third, I'm going to show you what kind of action this year actually rewards, because too many people will confuse movement with strategy and burn themselves out while calling it ambition. And if conversations like this help you see your career more clearly, instead of just feeding yourself motivational nonsense every Monday morning, click like, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who knows they are overdue for a serious career conversation with themselves. Now let's reset the frame properly. A lot of people are going into 2026 with the wrong expectation. They think a firehorse year means opportunity appears, momentum appears, everything suddenly opens, and all they need to do is be bold. That is not the full picture. A firehorse year does not arrive to reward delusion. It arrives to accelerate whatever is already building and expose whatever can no longer be sustained. If your career direction is clear, your positioning is strong, and your courage has simply been delayed by hesitation, then yes, this kind of year can feel like a breakthrough. But if your career has been built on avoidance, drift, fake stability, or staying in roles that no longer fit who you are, then the same year can feel brutal. That is why I call it a reset button. Not because it politely asks whether you would like a fresh start, because it starts removing your excuses. For the last few years, many people have been living inside what I would call delayed momentum. They have been planning, thinking, waiting, refining, surviving, and telling themselves they are being patient, when in reality, some of them have just been avoiding the discomfort of change. They know they are underpaid for their real value, they know the role is too small, they know the business idea is being postponed out of fear, they know the current path is giving them output but not meaning, they know they are exhausted, not because they work too hard, but because they are spending energy in directions that no longer build a future they actually want. That kind of stagnation is quiet, which is why it can last for years. But 2026 is not a quiet year. The firehorse brings movement, exposure, speed, pressure, and consequence. It turns up the heat on ambition and dissatisfaction at the same time. It increases the urge to act, but it also increases the cost of pretending that a misaligned path is still acceptable. So if you have been hiding inside professional numbness, the year does not make that easier. It makes it harder to ignore. That is why the firehorse is so useful and so dangerous. Useful because it can finally force movement where movement is overdue. Dangerous because many people will respond to that pressure emotionally instead of strategically. And that is the part most people get wrong. They assume career breakthrough and career chaos are different things. In a year like 2026, they can start from the same pressure point. The person who finally makes the right move and the person who impulsively burns down their own stability may both feel the same early intensity. The difference is not energy, the difference is discipline. Now let's talk about why the firehorse matters more than people think. This is not just another zodiac label people can use for social media content, and then ignore when real life arrives. The fire horse is a rare 60-year combination, and the reason it matters is because it combines speed with heat, ambition with exposure, movement with volatility. Fire governs visibility, recognition, reputation, performance, and public consequence. The horse governs momentum, freedom, mobility, and the urge to break out of restriction. Put them together, and you do not get a sleepy year where people patiently update their LinkedIn profile and wait for the universe to approve it. You get a year where professional identity is pressured to reveal itself. If you are in the wrong role, it becomes harder to tolerate. If you are in the right role, but too invisible, the pressure to step forward grows. If your business model is outdated, the pace of the environment begins exposing that. If your ambition has been real, but your execution has been weak, that weakness becomes much harder to hide. And if your current career is built more on fear than on purpose, 2026 can become the year where that starts cracking. Now, let me be blunt here, because too many people need to hear this without the usual sugarcoating. Some of you are not stuck because the market is unfair. You are stuck because your career story is outdated and you are still emotionally loyal to a version of yourself that no longer has the courage required for the next chapter. Some of you are not waiting for the right time. You are hiding in preparation because preparation feels safer than exposure. And some of you are not actually burnt out from doing too much meaningful work. You are burnt out from continuing work that no longer fits, no longer grows you, and no longer deserves the amount of life force you are still feeding into it. That is why a fire horse year can feel like relief to one person and a crisis to another. It is not because the year is biased, it is because the year amplifies truth. Now, if this already hits a nerve, good. Career reset is not supposed to feel like a spa treatment. And if this is already helping you see 2026 more clearly, click like, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who has been confusing professional stagnation with stability. Now, let's talk about the real risk, because if all you hear is bold action, you are going to do what many people do in heated years, which is move too fast in the wrong direction, and then call the damage growth. The fire horse rewards decisiveness, but that does not mean it rewards impulsiveness. This is where people self-sabotage. They feel the urgency of the year. They finally sense that the old path is not enough, and instead of acting cleanly, they start reacting wildly. They quit without strategy. They launch without structure. They reposition without clarity. They say yes to visibility without having the systems to support it. They exhaust themselves trying to prove they are finally moving, and then they wonder why the year feels punishing. It is not punishing them, it is exposing sloppy movement. That is why your first responsibility in 2026 is not speed, it is clean direction. If you do not know what you are trying to build, the year's intensity will simply magnify your confusion. And confusion under a fast cycle is expensive. So what does the year actually reward? First, it rewards decisive action that has already been waiting for the right pressure. This is the year to execute on what you have known for a while, not to randomly reinvent yourself because you had one dramatic Tuesday. If you already know the career path is misaligned, if you already know the business should be repositioned, if you already know you need more visibility, more ownership, more leadership, more direct authority, then 2026 can help you move that forward. But only if you stop pretending you still need another 12 months of emotional rehearsal. Second, it rewards visibility when visibility is backed by substance. Fire increases recognition, yes, but it also increases exposure. That means your work can be noticed more quickly, but so can your weakness. This is not the year to manufacture fake confidence, fake expertise, or fake positioning. If you step into the spotlight without real value underneath it, the year can embarrass you very efficiently. But if the work is real and you have been hiding too long, this is the year to stop whispering and start being seen. Third, it rewards alignment over compliance. This is why I say 2026 is a reset button. It becomes much harder to tolerate roles, structures, and expectations that are clearly disconnected from who you are becoming. People who have been pleasing everyone else while betraying themselves professionally will feel that pressure much more strongly. Not because the year is emotional for no reason, but because fire exposes inauthenticity. What was bearable in a duller year becomes irritating in a faster one. What you tolerated before starts feeling insulting now. That is not a bad thing, that is information. Now let's talk about what this means practically. If you are employed, the first question is brutally simple. Does your current role still build the future you actually want, or is it just paying you to delay a harder decision? If it still builds the future, then 2026 is the year to push for more responsibility, more visibility, more negotiation power, and more direct ownership of meaningful work. But if the role no longer builds anything except your monthly tolerance for misalignment, then the year is likely to pressure you toward a move, whether you admit it now or later. If you are a founder, this is not the year to hide inside a weak offer, passive positioning, or endless back-end optimization while pretending the market will somehow notice you eventually. Fire years demand stronger visibility and cleaner messaging. That does not mean louder nonsense. It means sharper positioning and faster truth. If the business model is sound, but the brand is invisible, fix that. If the brand is visible, but the structure is weak, fix that. If both are weak, stop romanticizing the hustle and address the real problem. If you are in transition, the year can be powerful for you, but only if you do not let uncertainty make you sloppy. Use the intensity to make a cleaner move, not a dramatic one. There is a difference. Dramatic moves feel good for a moment. Clean moves build futures. And let me say something else people do not hear enough. Rest matters more in the fire year, not less. Too many people think that if a year is fast, they must become permanently activated in order to match it. That is how burnout arrives wearing the costume of ambition. Fire without recovery becomes self-destruction. So if 2026 becomes your breakthrough year, it will not happen because you ran yourself into the ground. It will happen because you learned how to carry more energy without turning yourself into collateral damage. That means boundaries. That means disciplined rest. That means not confusing visibility with constant accessibility. And that means understanding that the point of a career reset is not simply to do more. It is to stop feeding the wrong things. Now, if this conversation is helping you rethink your direction more honestly, click like, subscribe to this channel, and share this video with someone who has been telling themselves they are just waiting for the right moment when what they really need is a decision. So let me bring this home. Why is the 2026 Fire Horse a career reset button? Because it increases the pressure on every professional life that has been running on delay, compromise, underexpression, outdated identity, or false security. It does not gently invite change. It accelerates the need for it. It pushes ambition forward, exposes professional dishonesty, and makes stagnation much harder to tolerate. That means the year can absolutely become a breakthrough. But let's stay honest. It can also become a very public mess for people who move without strategy, who chase intensity instead of direction, or who finally feel the heat of the year and then waste it on panic rather than purpose. The reset is real, the opportunity is real, but so is the risk. And the difference between those two outcomes is not luck. It is whether you are willing to be honest enough, disciplined enough, and direct enough to make the right move instead of just any move. If this gave you a sharper way to think about your career and the deeper pressure of 2026, click like, subscribe to this channel, and share it with other people who need a more truthful conversation about what this year may demand. And if you want deeper discussions about Chinese metaphysics, career strategy, period 9, visibility, leadership, and how to make the next cycle work for you instead of against you, join the Destiny Architect Telegram chat, where we continue these conversations with people who want clarity instead of comfort.